My name is Lucas, and this is the story that changed my entire life. I was 24 years old when I met Camila at a coffee shop near the university. I was working at an internet cafe at the time, making barely enough to cover rent. But I had dreams, big dreams. I remember the first time I saw her. She was sitting alone, frustrated with her laptop that wouldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. I offered to help, and when our eyes met, I felt something I'd never experienced before. She had this warm smile that could light up the darkest room, and when she laughed at my terrible jokes, I knew I was falling hard. "You're different from other guys," she told me on our first official date. We were sharing a pizza at this tiny place I could barely afford. "You have this passion in your eyes when you talk about your ideas." Those ideas she mentioned? I was developing a mobile application, something revolutionary, I believed. A platform that could connect small businesses with customers in ways that had never been done before. I worked on it every night after my shift at the internet cafe, sometimes until 3 a.m., surviving on instant noodles and determination. Camila seemed impressed at first. She would listen to me explain the technical aspects, nodding and asking questions. "You're going to be successful one day, Lucas. I can feel it." For 6 months, we were inseparable. I would walk her to work every morning before starting my own shift. We would spend weekends exploring the city, finding free activities because that's all we could afford. I introduced her to my mother, who instantly loved her. "She's good for you, mijo," my mother would say. "I see how happy you are." But things started changing in month 7. "Lucas, we need to talk about being more realistic," Camila said one evening as we sat in my small apartment. I had just shown her the latest update to my app, excited about a new feature I'd implemented. "What do you mean?" I asked, confused by her tone. "I mean, maybe it's time you considered getting a better job. Something stable. My friends are dating guys who have careers, not just dreams." The word dreams came out like it was something dirty, something shameful. "But this app is going to work, Camila. I've been talking to potential investors and—" "Potential investors?" she interrupted. "Lucas, you've been saying that for months. When was the last time any of these potential investors actually responded to your emails?" She was right, and it stung. The rejections had been piling up. But I believed in my vision. I knew it would work if I could just get the right person to see it. "These things take time," I said weakly. "Time we don't have," she replied. "I'm 23 years old, Lucas. I want to travel. I want to eat at nice restaurants. I want to wear beautiful clothes. How long am I supposed to wait for your app to maybe, possibly, work out?" That night, she went home early. I stared at my laptop screen, questioning everything. Was I being naive? Was I wasting my time and hers? But deep down, I knew I couldn't give up. This app wasn't just a project to me. It was my purpose. It was going to help thousands of small business owners connect with their communities. It was going to matter. I first heard about Renato 3 weeks later. Camila mentioned him casually during dinner. "Oh, I met this guy at work today. Renato. He owns 3 electronics stores in the city. He was buying equipment for his offices." She worked at a tech supply company, so meeting business owners wasn't unusual. But something in her voice when she said his name made me look up from my food. "That's nice," I said, trying to sound disinterested. "He drives this amazing BMW, silver, and he was wearing this watch that probably costs more than you make in 6 months." There it was, the comparison I'd been dreading. "Good for him," I muttered. He asked me to help him pick out a laptop. Turns out he needs someone who understands technology for his businesses. He offered me a consulting job. Part-time, but the pay is incredible. My stomach dropped. "You're going to work for him?" "Why not? It's good money, Lucas. Money we could use." "We." She still said "we" then. I held on to that word like a lifeline. But over the next few weeks, Camila started changing. She would come home from her consulting sessions with Renato, talking about the expensive restaurants he'd taken her to discuss business. She started wearing new clothes, claiming Renato had bought them as uniform expenses. "He says presentation is everything in business," she explained when I questioned the designer dress. "He's teaching me about the corporate world." I wanted to believe her explanations. I needed to believe them. The changes were gradual but undeniable. Camila started coming home later and later from her work with Renato. She would receive texts at all hours, claiming it was urgent business matters. "He's very demanding," she would say, typing back quickly. "But he's teaching me so much about running a successful business. Maybe you should meet him, Lucas. He could give you advice about your app." The suggestion felt like a knife to my chest. The woman I loved wanted me to seek advice from the man who was clearly trying to steal her from me. "I don't need his advice," I said firmly. "See, this is your problem, Lucas. You're too proud. Successful people help each other. They network. They don't just sit alone in their apartments coding until 3 a.m. "That's what it takes to build something meaningful," I replied. "Meaningful to who? You're so focused on changing the world that you're ignoring the world right in front of you. Our world." She was pulling away, and I could feel it happening in real time. The kisses became shorter. The conversations became more strained. She stopped asking about my app altogether. One night I decided to surprise her. I had finally gotten a response from an investor. Not a commitment, but interest. Real interest. I wanted to celebrate with the woman I loved. I bought flowers with money I couldn't afford to spend and went to her apartment. I could hear laughter through the door. Her laughter mixed with a man's voice I didn't recognize. I knocked. When Camila opened the door, her face went pale. Behind her, sitting comfortably on her couch with a glass of wine, was a man in an expensive suit. Tall, confident, with the kind of smile that spoke of someone who had never been told no. "Lucas," Camila stammered, "what are you doing here? I wanted to surprise you. I have good news about the app." The man stood up, extending his hand. "You must be Lucas. I'm Renato. Camila has told me so much about you." His handshake was firm, his eyes condescending. Everything about him screamed success and superiority. "We were just going over some business proposals," Camila said quickly. Renato was about to leave, but Renato didn't look like he was going anywhere. He looked like he owned the place. "Actually," Renato said, settling back into the couch, "we were discussing Camila's future. She has tremendous potential in the business world. With the right guidance, of course." The flowers in my hand suddenly felt ridiculous. Cheap. Inadequate. "What kind of guidance?" I asked, though I dreaded the answer. "The kind that comes from experience. Success. I've built my business empire from nothing, Lucas. I understand what it takes to turn dreams into reality." Dreams. There was that word again, but this time it didn't sound dirty coming from his mouth. It sounded achievable. "Lucas has dreams too," Camila said weakly, but even she didn't sound convinced anymore. Renato smiled, not mockingly, but with the patience of someone explaining simple concepts to a child. "I'm sure he does, but dreams without resources are just fantasies. I could help both of you understand the difference." I wanted to punch him. I wanted to grab Camila and remind her of every moment we'd shared, every promise we'd made. Instead, I just stood there, holding wilted flowers, feeling smaller by the second. "I should go," I said finally. "Lucas, wait," Camila started, but I was already walking away. That night, I threw the flowers in the trash and worked on my app until sunrise, fury and heartbreak fueling every line of code I wrote. The final conversation happened 2 weeks later. Camila asked me to meet her at the same coffee shop where we'd first met. I thought maybe she wanted to work things out, to explain away all the doubts that had been eating at me. I was wrong. She looked beautiful that day. More beautiful than I'd ever seen her. Her hair was professionally styled. Her outfit was elegant and expensive. She looked like she belonged in Renato's world. "You look different," I said as she sat down across from me. "I feel different," she replied, and there was something final in her voice. We ordered coffee, the same drinks we'd had on our first date, but everything else had changed. "Lucas," she began, and I knew what was coming. "You're a good man. You're kind. You're passionate. You're smart. But," I interrupted, wanting to get it over with, "but I need more than potential. I need stability. I need someone who can provide for a future. And Renato can provide that?" She looked down at her hands. "New manicure, I noticed. Expensive. He's offered me a real position in his company, executive level. And he cares about me in ways that I don't?" The words came out harsher than I intended. "That you can't," she corrected. "Lucas, when was the last time we went somewhere nice? When was the last time you could afford to take me on a real date? I'm tired of pretending that love is enough. So this is about money? This is about reality. Renato and I, we understand each other. We want the same things: success, stability, a future that's more than just hoping and dreaming. I felt something breaking inside my chest. Not just my heart, but something deeper. My faith in love, maybe. My belief that what we had was special. What about everything we built together? I asked desperately. What about the plans we made? We made plans based on fantasies, Lucas. I'm 23 years old. I can't wait forever for your app to maybe work out. It will work out, I said. But my voice sounded hollow even to me. Maybe it will. And if it does, I'll be happy for you. But I can't wait anymore. She reached across the table and touched my hand one last time. Her skin was soft, her nails perfectly painted. I hope you understand, she whispered. But I didn't understand. I couldn't understand how someone could throw away what we had for money and status. How someone could look at my dreams and see only delusions. I hope he makes you happy, I said finally. He already does. Those 3 words destroyed me more than anything else she could have said. The next few months were the darkest period of my life. I threw myself into work at the internet cafe during the day and worked on my app at night. But my heart wasn't in it anymore. Every line of code reminded me of Camilla's voice telling me I was living in fantasy. I started seeing them around town. Camilla and Renato at expensive restaurants, at the mall, at events I could never afford to attend. She looked radiant in every photo I accidentally saw on social media. Before I finally blocked her accounts, my friends tried to comfort me. She wasn't right for you, man, my best friend Miguel would say. If she couldn't see your potential, she didn't deserve you. So, but late at night, alone in my apartment, doubt would creep in. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was just a dreamer. Maybe successful people like Renato understood something about the world that I didn't. I stopped working on the app for 3 weeks. I would sit at my computer, stare at the code, and feel overwhelming emptiness. What was the point? Even if it succeeded, even if it made me rich, Camilla was gone. She had chosen someone else. My mother noticed my depression during one of our weekly dinners. Mijo, you look terrible. Are you eating? I'm fine, Ma. No, you're not fine. You're heartbroken. But heartbreak doesn't have to mean giving up on your dreams. What if she was right, Ma? What if I'm just wasting my time? My mother, who had raised me alone after my father left, who had worked 2 jobs to put me through school, looked at me with fierce determination. Your father also called my dreams of owning my own restaurant a waste of time. You know what I told him? I shook my head. I told him that people who can't dream big will never achieve big. And look at me now. I may not have my restaurant yet, but I raised a son who believes he can change the world. That's not a waste of time, Lucas. That's a miracle. Her words lit a small fire in the darkness I'd been living in. But what if I fail? Then you fail trying to do something meaningful. That's better than succeeding at something that doesn't matter. That night I opened my laptop and looked at my app code for the first time in weeks. It was good. Really good. Maybe Camilla couldn't see its potential, but that didn't mean the potential wasn't there. I started working again. Rebuilding my motivation was harder than writing code. Every day was a battle against doubt, against the voice in my head that sounded like Camilla telling me I was living in fantasy. But slowly, day by day, I found my rhythm again. I quit the internet cafe and took a job as a food delivery driver. The pay was better and I could work my own hours, leaving more time for development. Those were long, lonely months. I would deliver food during peak hours, then code until 2 or 3 a.m. My social life disappeared completely. My apartment became my world. Just me, my laptop, and the dream that everyone thought was foolish. I learned to love the solitude. In the silence of my apartment, with only the glow of my screen for company, I could think clearly. I could build something without anyone telling me it was impossible. The app evolved during this period. What started as a simple business directory became something more sophisticated. A comprehensive platform that could handle inventory management, customer relations, marketing analytics, and community engagement all in one place. It was exactly what small businesses needed, but had never been able to afford. I tested it with a few local business owners who let me use their shops as case studies. Mrs. Rodriguez, who owned a small bakery, saw her online orders increase by 300% in the first month. Carlos, who ran an auto repair shop, told me the app helped him organize his customer base in ways he never thought possible. "This is incredible, Lucas," Carlos said after 2 months of testing. "How much are you going to charge for this?" "I'm still figuring that out," I admitted. "Whatever it is, it's worth 10 times that. You've revolutionized how I run my business." These small victories kept me going during the darkest moments. When I felt like giving up, I would remember Mrs. Rodriguez telling me that my app helped her connect with customers she never could have reached before. But success felt hollow without someone to share it with. Every milestone I reached, my first instinct was to call Camila and tell her about it. Then I would remember that she was building a different life with someone else. Everything changed on a Tuesday morning in March. I had been working on the app for almost 2 years since Camila left. I was delivering lunch to an office building downtown when my phone rang. "Is this Lucas Costa, developer of Connect Local?" The voice was professional, crisp. "Yes, this is Lucas. My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm a partner at Meridian Venture Capital. We received your business proposal, and we're very interested in discussing investment opportunities." I almost dropped the phone. Meridian was one of the biggest venture capital firms in the state. I had sent them my proposal 6 months earlier and never heard back. Yes, I'd be very interested in discussing that." "Excellent. Can you meet us tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Our offices are downtown." "Absolutely. And Lucas, bring your vision. We want to hear everything." I spent that entire night preparing. I rehearsed my presentation until I could give it in my sleep. I borrowed a suit from Miguel that didn't quite fit but would have to do. The meeting was surreal. I sat in a conference room that probably cost more than my annual rent, presenting my app to 5 investors who asked sharp, intelligent questions. They understood the technical aspects. They saw the market potential. They got excited about the same things that excited me. "Lucas," Jennifer said at the end of my presentation, "what you've built is exactly what the market needs. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy, but they've been left behind by the digital revolution. Your platform changes that." "How much investment are you looking for?" asked another partner. I had prepared for this question, but my voice still shook when I answered. $500,000 for 20% equity. The room went quiet. I was sure I had asked for too much. "We'll give you $2 million for 25% equity," Jennifer said finally. "And we want exclusive rights to lead your Series A funding round." I couldn't speak. $2 million. More money than I had ever imagined having. "Do we have a deal, Lucas?" "We have a deal." The next 6 months were a whirlwind. With proper funding, I hired a team of developers, designers, and marketing specialists. We moved into a real office space. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I traded my delivery bike for a used car. I moved into a better apartment. But the most important change was internal. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Every decision I made, every feature we added to the app, every business partnership we formed, it all felt right. Connect Local launched publicly in September. Within the first month, we had 5,000 small businesses using our platform. By December, we had 50,000. The app was featured in tech magazines, business journals, and local news stories. "Local developer creates revolutionary platform for small businesses," read the headline in the city's largest newspaper. There was a photo of me in my office, looking professional and confident. I sent a copy to my mother. She cried when she saw it. "I always knew you would do something amazing, mijo. Your father would be so proud if he could see you now." But I wasn't thinking about my father. I was wondering if Camila had seen the article. If she had, she hadn't reached out. Part of me hoped she would. Part of me dreaded it. By the following year, Connect Local had become more than just an app. It was a movement. We had partnerships with local chambers of commerce in 12 states. Major corporations were using our platform to connect with small suppliers. We were processing millions of dollars in transactions every month. I hired a PR firm to manage our growing media presence. The CEO of a Fortune 500 company called me personally to discuss integration possibilities. Venture capital firms that had rejected me years earlier were now calling, wanting to discuss Series B funding. My personal life improved as well. Success had given me confidence I'd never possessed before. I started dating again. Nothing serious, just reconnecting with the social world I'd abandoned during my coding years. Miguel, who had become my company's head of marketing, often joked about how much I'd changed. "Remember when you used to eat ramen noodles for every meal?" he said during one of our team lunches at an expensive restaurant. "Now look at you. You're wearing a suit that actually fits." But success hadn't changed the core of who I was. I still worked late nights, still obsessed over every detail of the user experience, still felt most comfortable in front of a computer screen solving problems. The difference was that now, thousands of people depended on what I built. Small business owners would send me emails telling me how Connect Local had saved their companies. Families would share stories about how our platform helped them reach new customers during tough economic times. I had found my purpose, and more importantly, I had proved it could be profitable. 3 years after Camila left me, I was invited to speak at the State Small Business Conference. It was the biggest professional event of my career. Over 2,000 business owners, politicians, and entrepreneurs would be in attendance. I spent weeks preparing my speech. I wanted to talk about perseverance, about believing in your vision even when everyone else doubts it, about how failure can be the foundation for success. The day of the conference, I stood backstage in a tailored suit, adjusting my tie and thinking about how far I'd come. From a heartbroken kid delivering food to pay rent, to the keynote speaker at the state's most important business event. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer said, "please welcome the founder and CEO of Connect Local, the platform that's revolutionizing how small businesses connect with their communities, Lucas Costa." The applause was thunderous. As I walked onto the stage, looking out at an audience of successful business owners giving me a standing ovation, I felt a sense of vindication that was almost overwhelming. 3 years ago, I began, I was told that my dreams were unrealistic, that I should be more practical, more focused on immediate stability rather than long-term vision. I was told that successful people don't waste time on impossible ideas. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. Today, Connect Local serves over 200,000 small businesses across the country. We've processed over 500 million in transactions. We've created thousands of jobs and helped countless entrepreneurs achieve their own dreams. More applause. But the most important thing I learned isn't about business or technology. It's about believing in yourself, especially when nobody else does. It's about understanding that the people who tell you something is impossible usually say that because they've never tried to make the impossible possible themselves. The speech was a huge success. Afterward, dozens of people approached me with business cards, investment offers, and partnership proposals. Local news stations wanted interviews. A publisher approached me about writing a book. But as I was leaving the conference center, signing autographs and shaking hands, I saw a familiar face in the crowd. Camila. She was standing near the exit, wearing a simple dress instead of the designer clothes I remembered. Her hair was different, shorter, less styled. She looked older, tired in a way that had nothing to do with physical exhaustion. Our eyes met across the room. For a moment, time stopped. All the success, all the recognition, all the applause faded away. I was just Lucas again, looking at the woman who had broken my heart. She mouthed the word, "Congratulations," and then disappeared into the crowd before I could react. That night, I lay awake thinking about that moment, about how it felt to see her again, about whether I felt vindicated or just sad. 2 weeks after the conference, my assistant told me I had a phone call from someone who wouldn't give her name, but insisted it was personal and urgent. "Hello?" I answered. "Lucas, it's Camila." My heart started racing immediately. Her voice sounded different, smaller, less confident than I remembered. "Camila, I saw you at the conference. I know, I wanted to talk to you, but there were so many people around. You looked so professional, so successful. What can I do for you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. I need help, Lucas. I don't know who else to call. What kind of help? There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. Renato and I, things didn't work out the way I thought they would. His businesses failed. All of them. We lost everything, Lucas. Everything. I felt a complex mix of emotions. Surprise, sympathy, and something that might have been satisfaction. I'm sorry to hear that. It gets worse. The bankruptcy lawyers are saying he committed fraud. He's under investigation. And because I was working for him, because my name was on some of the business documents, you're being investigated too? I might face charges. My lawyer says I need character references. People who can vouch for who I was before I got involved with Renato. People who knew the real me. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman who had left me for financial security was now asking for help, because that same pursuit had destroyed her life. Camilla, I know I have no right to ask you this. I know what I did to you was terrible, but you're the only person I know who's successful enough for their recommendation to matter, and honest enough to tell the truth about my character. Oh, what exactly are you asking me to do? Write a letter. Tell them that you knew me before, that I'm not the kind of person who would knowingly commit fraud. Tell them that I made mistakes, but that I'm not a criminal. I closed my eyes. This was the woman who had told me my dreams were unrealistic, who had chosen money over love, who had broken my heart so completely that I had spent 2 years rebuilding myself from scratch. And now she needed me. I'll think about it, I said finally. Thank you, Lucas. That's more than I deserve. Camilla? Yes? Are you okay? I mean, beyond the legal issues. Are you okay? She was quiet for so long I thought she had hung up. No, she said finally. I'm not okay, but I'm surviving. After she hung up, I sat in my office for an hour, staring out the window at the city skyline. Success had given me many things, but it hadn't erased the past. It hadn't made me forget how much I had loved her, or how much it had hurt when she left. The question was, what kind of man did I want to be now that I had the power to help or hurt her? I hired a private investigator to look into Camilla's situation. I told myself it was just due diligence. If I was going to vouch for her character, I needed to know what I was getting involved in. But honestly, I was curious. What had happened to the confident woman who had left me for a better life? How had she ended up in this situation? The investigator's report painted a picture I hadn't expected. Renato hadn't just been successful when Camilla met him. He had been desperately trying to maintain the appearance of success while his businesses crumbled around him. He was using revenue from the new stores to pay debts from the old ones, the investigator explained. Classic Ponzi scheme structure, but with retail businesses instead of investments. By the time Ms. Camilla got involved with him, he was already in serious financial trouble. So she didn't know? According to the evidence, no. She was brought in as a legitimate consultant, then gradually given more responsibilities as his situation got worse. It appears he was using her credentials and reputation to secure loans and business partnerships. What kind of legal trouble is she facing? If the prosecutors can prove she knew about the fraud, she could face serious charges. But if she was genuinely unaware, she's more likely looking at civil liability, having to pay back money, but no criminal charges. And what does the evidence suggest? That she was a victim too. Someone who got in over her head with a man who was better at hiding his problems than she was at detecting them. I felt an unexpected wave of sympathy. The woman who had broken my heart by choosing financial security had ended up being destroyed by that same choice. I called Camilla and asked her to meet me at a coffee shop. Not the one where we'd first met, but a new place downtown near my office. I wanted to see her in person before making any decisions about the character reference. She arrived 15 minutes early. I watched her through the window as I approached. She was sitting alone at a corner table, nervously checking her phone. She looked fragile in a way I'd never seen before. "Thank you for meeting me," she said as I sat down. "You look..." I paused, trying to find the right words. "Different. Older, tired, broken." She gave a bitter laugh. "All of the above, probably." I was going to say humbled. She looked up at me with surprise. "Is that good or bad?" "I haven't decided yet." We ordered coffee, different drinks than we used to share. Everything was different now. Tell me what happened, I said. The real story. She took a deep breath and began. When I left you, I thought I knew what I wanted. Renato seemed to have everything figured out. He was confident, successful, established. He made me feel like I could be successful too. And? For about a year, it was everything I thought I wanted. Nice restaurants, expensive clothes, vacations to places I'd only seen in magazines. He gave me a title at his company, a salary that was more than I'd ever imagined making. But I started noticing things. The way he would get angry when I asked questions about the business. How he would take calls at strange hours and speak in whispers. The fact that despite all his supposed success, we never seemed to have any money in our personal accounts. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup as if trying to warm herself. I tried to convince myself that I was being paranoid, that this was just how successful businessmen operated. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. Why didn't you leave? Because I was scared. I had burned bridges with my old job, with my friends, with you. I had built my entire identity around being Renato's girlfriend, his business partner. If that fell apart, what did I have left? So you stayed. I stayed. And I got in deeper and deeper until one day the FBI showed up at our office with search warrants. She started crying then. Not dramatically, just quiet tears that she wiped away quickly. I know you probably think I got what I deserved, she said. The girl who chose money over love. Destroyed by money in the end. It's poetic justice, right? I looked at her. Really looked at her. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple, inexpensive outfits. The perfect manicure had been replaced by short, unpolished nails. The confidence that had attracted me to her in the first place was gone, replaced by a vulnerability that was somehow more beautiful than anything I remembered. I don't think you deserve this, I said quietly. You don't? You made a choice that hurt me, but you didn't deserve to have your life destroyed. Why are you being so kind to me, after everything I put you through? I thought about that question for a long time before answering, because holding on to anger was exhausting, and because success taught me that being right isn't as important as being decent. I wrote the character reference letter that night, not because I owed it to Camila, but because it was the right thing to do. I wrote about the woman I had known before Renato, someone who was ambitious, yes, but also kind. Someone who volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends. Someone who sent birthday cards to my mother. Someone who cried during sad movies and laughed at terrible jokes. I wrote about how the person who had committed fraud wasn't the same person I had known and loved. That while she had made mistakes in judgment, she wasn't someone who would knowingly hurt others for financial gain. I also wrote about something I hadn't expected to include. Forgiveness. I wrote about how people deserve second chances, how mistakes don't have to define us forever, and how someone's worst moment shouldn't overshadow everything else they've ever been. The letter was 3 pages long. I read it over several times, making sure every word was true. Then I signed it, had it notarized, and sent it to her lawyer. I also did something else. I called my company's legal department and asked them to recommend a good criminal defense attorney for Camila. Someone better than the overworked public defender she'd been assigned. Are you sure about this, Lucas? My legal counsel asked. Getting involved in a federal fraud investigation could create complications for you. I'm not getting involved in the investigation. I'm helping someone who needs help. Someone who hurt you pretty badly, from what I understand. That's exactly why I need to help her. To prove to myself that success didn't make me vindictive. The criminal charges against Camila were dropped 3 months later. The prosecutor's office concluded that she had been used by Renato rather than being a willing participant in his fraud. She still faced civil liability. She had to pay back money that had been given to her during the time she worked for Renato's companies. It wasn't as devastating as criminal charges would have been, but it meant she would be paying off debts for years to come. She called to thank me after the charges were dropped. Lucas, I don't know how to repay you for what you did. You don't need to repay me, I said. Just learn from it. I have learned, more than you know. What will you do now? Start over, I guess. Find a job, pay off my debts, try to rebuild some kind of life. It won't be easy. Starting over never is, but it's possible. I should know. There was a long pause. Lucas, yes? I'm sorry. For everything. For not believing in you. For leaving you the way I did. For choosing what I thought was security over what was real. You deserved better than that. We both deserved better than what happened. But we can't change the past. No, but we can learn from it. And I want you to know, seeing what you've accomplished, seeing the man you've become, I'm proud of you. I know I don't have the right to say that anymore, but I am. Thank you, Camila. That means more than you know. 6 months later, I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant knocked on my door. Mr. Costa, there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's about employment. Send her in. When the door opened, Camila walked in. She looked different again. Not the broken woman from the coffee shop, but not the confident woman I'd first fallen in love with either. She looked determined, hopeful, but also nervous. Hello, Lucas. Camila? This is unexpected. I know you're probably busy, and I know showing up without an appointment is unprofessional, but I wanted to ask you something in person. What can I do for you? She took a deep breath. I want to apply for a job here. I was genuinely surprised. At Connect Local? I know it sounds crazy. I know you probably think I have a lot of nerve even asking, but I've been thinking about what you said about starting over, and I realized that I want to start over doing something meaningful. What kind of position are you interested in? Anything. I'll clean offices, I'll answer phones, I'll organize files. I just want to work somewhere that's making a positive difference, somewhere I can learn from people who are building something real. I studied her face, looking for any sign that this was about trying to get back together, or about taking advantage of our history. But I didn't see any of that. I saw someone who genuinely wanted a chance to rebuild her life. You understand that this would be complicated, I said. People here know our history. There would be questions, rumors. I understand, and I understand if you say no. But Lucas, I need to ask. I need to know that I tried to do something right. I thought about it for a long moment. The practical part of my brain said this was a terrible idea. The part of me that remembered how much I'd loved her said it was an even worse idea. But the part of me that had learned something about grace and second chances said something different. We have an opening in our customer service department, I said finally. Entry level. Answering calls from small business owners who need help with the platform. The pay isn't great and the work can be frustrating. Her eyes lit up. I'll take it. I haven't offered it to you yet. There's a process. You'll need to interview with the department manager just like any other candidate. If she thinks you're qualified, and if HR approves, then we can talk. Yilo, you mean I have a real chance? You have the same chance as anyone else. No more, no less. Thank you, Lucas. I won't let you down. Don't thank me yet. Thank me if you get the job and do it well. Camila got the job. Not because of me, I made sure to stay out of the hiring process entirely, but because she interviewed well and because she genuinely understood what small business owners needed. Watching her work was strange at first. She would arrive early every morning, stay late when needed, and approach every call with patience and professionalism. She studied our platform extensively, learning every feature so she could help customers more effectively. More importantly, she seemed to genuinely care about the work. I would overhear her calls sometimes, and she would spend extra time with confused customers, walking them through complex processes step by step. Mrs. Chen, don't worry about it, I heard her say to one customer. Setting up online payments can be confusing at first. Let me walk you through it again, and this time I'll send you some screenshots to help. She had found something I'd never seen in her before. Purpose that went beyond personal gain. The other employees were suspicious at first. Word had gotten out about our past relationship, and people were waiting to see if she would receive special treatment or if drama would follow. But Camila kept her head down and focused on work. She was friendly but professional with everyone, including me. When we passed in the hallway, she would nod politely and say, "Good morning, Mr. Costa," just like she did with every other executive. After 3 months, her supervisor came to me with a performance review. "Camila Gonzalez is one of our best customer service representatives," she said. "Her customer satisfaction scores are the highest in the department. and she's already identified several areas where we could improve our platform based on common customer complaints. That's good to hear. Actually, I was hoping to promote her to senior customer service specialist. She's ready for more responsibility. Then promote her. You don't need my approval for departmental promotions. I know, but given your history with her, I wanted to make sure you were comfortable with it. My history with her is irrelevant to her job performance. If she's earned the promotion, she should get it. Over the following year, Camilla continued to excel. She was promoted twice more, eventually becoming the customer service department manager. Under her leadership, customer satisfaction scores increased by 40%, and customer retention improved significantly. But more than that, she had found her calling. She would often stay late working on initiatives to improve the customer experience. She developed training programs for new hires, created comprehensive help documentation, and even suggested new platform features based on customer feedback. You know, Miguel said to me one day, hiring your ex-girlfriend was either the best decision you ever made or the worst. I can't figure out which. Oh, why? Because she's legitimately one of our best employees. But also because it's weird seeing you two work together like this. How so? You're both so professional with each other that it's almost unnatural. Like you're both trying too hard to prove that the past doesn't matter. He wasn't wrong. Camila and I had developed a strictly professional relationship that sometimes felt forced. We worked well together. She would bring customer insights to executive meetings, and I would support her departmental initiatives. But there was always an undercurrent of history that we both carefully avoided acknowledging. Connect Local's annual company retreat was held at a mountain resort 2 hours outside the city. It was a chance for the team to bond, plan for the upcoming year, and celebrate our successes. I usually enjoyed these retreats, but this year I was apprehensive. It would be the first time Camilla and I had spent extended time together outside the office environment. The first day went smoothly. We had presentations, team-building exercises, and strategic planning sessions. Camila presented her department's achievements and goals with confidence and professionalism. Watching her command the room, I was struck by how much she had grown. The second evening, there was a company party by the lake. I was standing on the dock, looking out at the water and thinking about how far we'd all come, when Camila approached. "Mind if I join you?" she asked. "It's getting a bit loud over there?" "Of course." We stood in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the laughter and music from the party behind us. "This is a beautiful place," she said finally. "It is. Hard to believe we're only 2 hours from the city. Lucas, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you really hire me? And don't say it was just because I was qualified. We both know there were other qualified candidates who didn't come with complicated history." I thought about how to answer that. The truth was complex, and I wasn't sure I understood it entirely myself. "I think I needed to prove something to myself," I said finally. "What kind of something?" "That success hadn't made me petty, that I could separate business from personal feelings, that I was capable of looking at someone who had hurt me and still seeing their potential." "And did you prove it?" "I think so. But more importantly, you proved something too." "What did I prove?" "That people can change. That mistakes don't have to define us forever. That with the right opportunity, someone can become the person they were always capable of being." She was quiet for a long time. "I never thanked you properly," she said finally. "Not just for the job, but for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. You've thanked me every day by doing excellent work." "Lucas?" "Yes? Do you think we'll ever be friends again? Real friends, not just professional colleagues?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman standing next to me wasn't the same person who had left me for a richer man. She wasn't even the same person who had begged me for a character reference. She was someone new. Someone who had been forged by hardship and humility into something stronger and more genuine. "I think we already are friends," I said. "We just haven't admitted it to ourselves yet." She smiled. The first genuine, unguarded smile I'd seen from her in years. The months following the retreat marked a subtle shift in our relationship. We began having occasional coffee meetings to discuss business, but the conversations would often drift to other topics. She would tell me about the book she was reading, or ask my opinion about a decision she was making. I would share updates about my mother's health, Or mention a new restaurant I'd tried. We were rebuilding something, but it wasn't what we'd had before. It was something new, a friendship built on mutual respect rather than romantic attraction, on shared professional goals rather than personal dreams. Camilla continued to excel at work. She implemented a customer loyalty program that increased repeat business by 25%. She established partnerships with small business associations in 3 new states. She even started speaking at conferences about customer service excellence. "You know what's funny?" she said during one of our coffee meetings. "I used to think success meant having expensive things and impressive titles. Now I think success means knowing that what you do matters to other people." What changed your mind? Working here, talking to small business owners every day who tell me how much our platform has helped them. Realizing that I'm part of something bigger than myself. You always were part of something bigger than yourself. You just couldn't see it before. Maybe I needed to lose everything to understand what was really valuable. 3 years after Camilla joined Connect Local, she was nominated for the State Customer Service Excellence Award, the highest honor in her field. The nomination came from our customers, who had submitted dozens of testimonials about how she had helped their businesses. The award ceremony was held at the same convention center where I had given my keynote speech years earlier. This time, I was in the audience, watching Camilla accept recognition for her own achievements. "When I started working in customer service," she said in her acceptance speech, "I thought it was just a job, a way to pay bills while I figured out what I really wanted to do. But I learned that helping people solve their problems, that being the person someone calls when they're frustrated or confused, that's not just a job, it's a calling." The audience applauded enthusiastically. I felt genuinely proud of her, not because of our history, but because she had earned this recognition through her own hard work and dedication. After the ceremony, there was a reception. I was talking to some other business owners when Camilla approached with her award. "I wanted to show you this," she said, holding up the crystal trophy. "Congratulations, you earned it. We earned it. The platform we built, the team we assembled, the culture we created. This award belongs to all of us. You're being too modest. This is your achievement. Lucas, can I tell you something?" Of course. 5 years ago, if someone had told me I'd be winning awards for customer service, I would have laughed. I thought customer service was beneath me, that it was what people did when they couldn't do anything more important. And now? Now I know there's nothing more important than helping people. That's what you taught me, even when you didn't know you were teaching it. I taught you that. Your whole business philosophy is about helping small business owners succeed. You could have built a platform that just made money, but you built one that actually improves people's lives. Working here taught me that the most successful businesses aren't the ones that extract the most value from their customers. They're the ones that create the most value for their customers. That's a pretty sophisticated understanding of business philosophy. I had a good teacher, and I had time to think about what really matters. On the 5th anniversary of Connect Local's launch, we threw a big party for the entire company. It was held at the same hotel where Meridian Venture Capital had first offered me funding, but this time I was the one hosting. The company had grown beyond anything I had imagined. We now served over 500,000 small businesses across the country. We had offices in 6 states and employed over 300 people. Forbes had named us one of the fastest growing companies in America. But as I looked around the party, watching our team celebrate, I realized that the numbers weren't what mattered most. What mattered was the culture we had built. A company where people genuinely cared about their work and about each other. Camilla was across the room, talking animatedly with a group of newer employees. She was wearing a simple but elegant dress, and she looked genuinely happy in a way I hadn't seen since we were young. Miguel appeared beside me with 2 glasses of champagne. "Penny for your thoughts, boss?" "Just thinking about how much has changed." "Good changes." "Mostly, yes." "Including her?" He nodded toward Camilla. "Especially her. She's become someone I never expected. Better than who she was before?" I thought about that question. The young Camilla had been passionate and exciting, but also impatient and focused on external validation. The woman across the room was calmer, more grounded, more secure in herself. "Different?" I said finally. Not better or worse, just different. More real, maybe. Do you ever think about what might have happened if she hadn't left? Sometimes. But then I realized that if she hadn't left, neither of us would have become who we are now. The pain of losing her made me more determined to succeed. The pain of her mistakes made her more focused on what really matters. So you're saying heartbreak was good for both of you? Wow. I'm saying that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened to you. You just don't know it at the time. Success brought new challenges. Connect Local was now large enough to attract attention from bigger companies who wanted to acquire us. I was fielding offers from major corporations who saw our platform as a way to expand their own market share. The most serious offer came from Techno Global, one of the largest software companies in the world. They offered $800 million for a complete buyout. $800 million, Lucas, Jennifer from Meridian said during our board meeting. That's a life-changing amount of money. It's also the end of Connect Local as we know it, I replied. Techno Global doesn't care about small businesses. They want our customer base so they can sell them other products. But think about what you could do with that money. You could start 10 new companies. I don't want to start 10 new companies. I want to keep building this one. The board was split. Half wanted to take the money and cash out. Half wanted to keep growing independently. As the largest shareholder, the final decision was mine. I spent weeks thinking about it. I met with Techno Global executives, toured their facilities, and listened to their promises about maintaining Connect Local's mission and culture. But I also spent time talking to our customers, our employees, and the small business owners who depended on our platform. The more I talked to them, the more I realized that selling would be betraying everything we had built. The decision crystallized during a conversation with Mrs. Rodriguez, the bakery owner who had been one of our first beta testers. Mr. Costa, she said during a customer advisory meeting, your platform saved my business. But more than that, when I call for help, I talk to people who understand what it's like to run a small business. They care about my success, not just about solving my problem quickly. That evening I called an emergency board meeting. I'm not selling, I announced. Connect Local isn't just about making money. It's about supporting the backbone of our economy. If we sell to Techno Global, we become just another product in their portfolio. Our customers become just another market segment to be optimized. Lucas, you're walking away from nearly $1 billion. One board member said. No, I'm walking toward something more valuable than money. I'm walking toward purpose. The vote was close, but I had enough support to reject the offer. After the Techno Global decision, I found myself reflecting on what I really wanted from life. I had achieved everything I dreamed of professionally, but my personal life was still largely empty. I was 32 years old, financially secure beyond my wildest dreams, respected in my industry. But I went home to an empty apartment every night. I had dated casually over the years, but nothing serious. No one who understood the drive that had gotten me here, or the sacrifices I'd made along the way. One evening, I was working late when Camilla knocked on my office door. I saw your light on. Thought you might want some coffee? Thanks. What are you doing here so late? Working on the quarterly customer satisfaction report. But I wanted to congratulate you on the Techno Global decision. You heard about that? Lucas, everyone heard about that. Turning down $800 million is the kind of decision that gets talked about. Do you think I made the right choice? I think you made the choice that was true to who you are. The Lucas I knew 5 years ago would have taken the money and run. But the Lucas who built this company, who created this culture, who genuinely cares about our customers, that Lucas couldn't sell out. The Lucas from 5 years ago was also heartbroken and desperate to prove himself. And now? Now I'm trying to figure out what comes next. I've achieved everything I thought I wanted, but I'm not sure what I'm working toward anymore. Camilla sat down across from my desk. Can I tell you something? Of course. I used to think the most attractive thing about you was your ambition. The way you would talk about changing the world, about building something meaningful. But that's not what I find most attractive about you now. I looked up, surprised by the direction of the conversation. What do you find most attractive now? Your integrity, the way you treat people, Even people who have hurt you. The way you make decisions based on what's right, not just what's profitable. The way you've stayed true to yourself even as everything around you changed. Camilla, I'm not saying this to complicate our working relationship. I'm saying it because I think you should know that the man you've become is someone worth admiring and someone worth loving. She stood up to leave, then paused at the door. Don't work too late, Lucas. Success is meaningless if you don't have anyone to share it with. That conversation haunted me for weeks. Not because it was inappropriate. We were both adults, both single, both free to explore whatever feelings might exist between us. But because it forced me to confront something I'd been avoiding. I was still in love with Camila. Not the young, impulsive Camila, who had left me for a richer man. Not even the broken, desperate Camila, who had begged for help after Renato's fraud was discovered. I was in love with the woman she had become. The professional, compassionate, grounded person who had earned my respect as much as my affection. But the situation was complicated. She worked for me. Our history was messy. The power dynamics were problematic. And I wasn't sure if what she had said was about romantic feelings or just professional admiration. I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. I called my mother for advice. "Mijo," she said after I explained the situation, "let me ask you something. If you never told this woman how you feel and she ended up with someone else, how would you feel?" "Devastated." "And if you told her how you feel and she said she didn't feel the same way, how would you feel?" "Disappointed, but at least I would know." "So what's the real problem?" "I'm scared, Ma. I'm scared of getting hurt again. I'm scared of ruining what we've built professionally. I'm scared that I'm reading the situation wrong. Lucas, you've built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing. You've overcome heartbreak, rejection, and failure. You've turned your biggest enemy into your most trusted employee. And you're scared to tell a woman you love her? When you put it like that, it sounds pretty ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but it's also human. Love is the one thing that success can't protect you from. So what do I do? You be brave. You. Not because you know it will work out, but because you know you'll regret it if you don't try. I asked Camila to have dinner with me on a Friday evening. Not a business dinner, not a casual coffee. A real dinner at a nice restaurant. "Is this about work?" she asked when I made the invitation. "No, this is personal." She agreed, though I could see curiosity and perhaps nervousness in her eyes. I chose a restaurant that was elegant but not overly romantic. I wanted to be able to have a serious conversation without the pressure of grand gestures or elaborate settings. "This is nice," she said as we were seated. "I haven't been to a place like this in a long time. Neither have I, actually. I spend so much time working that I forget there's a world outside the office." We ordered wine and made small talk about work, about the restaurant, about anything except the real reason we were there. Finally, I took a deep breath and decided to be direct. "Camila, I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me finish before you respond." "Okay." Well, she put down her wine glass and gave me her full attention. 5 years ago, when you left me, I thought my world was ending. I was angry, I was heartbroken, and I was convinced that I would never trust anyone with my heart again. She started to speak, but I held up my hand. "Let me finish. Over the years, I've watched you rebuild your life. I've seen you face consequences for your mistakes with grace and dignity. I've seen you work harder than anyone else to prove that you deserve a second chance. I've seen you become someone I respect, not just personally, but professionally. Lucas, I'm not done. What I'm trying to say is that somewhere along the way, I realized that I've fallen in love with you again. Not with who you were, but with who you've become. And I needed to tell you that because I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering, what if?" She was quiet for a long moment, looking down at her hands. "Can I respond now?" she asked finally. "Please, Lucas, I've been in love with you for the past 2 years. Not the successful businessman version of you, although that's impressive. Not the generous boss who gave me a second chance, although I'm grateful for that. I'm in love with the man who has integrity, who keeps his word, who treats people with kindness even when they don't deserve it. You've been in love with me for 2 years? Maybe longer. It's hard to say exactly when admiration and gratitude turned into something deeper. But I didn't say anything because I was terrified that you would think I was trying to take advantage of your kindness. And now I think we're both brave enough to see what happens next. I reached across the table and took her hand. Her skin was warm, familiar, but also new. What happens next is complicated, I said. We work together. People will have opinions about us dating. There will be professional challenges. I know. But Lucas, I've learned something over the past few years. Life is too short to let fear make your decisions for you. If we can build something meaningful together professionally, maybe we can build something meaningful together personally too. So what are you saying? I'm saying yes to whatever you're asking. Yes to trying. Yes to seeing what we could be together. Yes to taking a chance on us. I squeezed her hand. I'm asking if you want to start over. Really start over. As the people we are now, rather than the people we were then. I would love that more than anything. We took things slowly. We had dinner once a week, went to movies, took long walks around the city. We talked about everything, our fears, our dreams, our regrets, our hopes for the future. It was strange dating someone I had loved and lost before, but also someone who was essentially new to me. The Camila I was falling in love with was more thoughtful, more grounded, more appreciative of simple pleasures than the woman I had known before. You know what I love about you now? She said one evening as we walked along the river. What? You're not trying to prove anything anymore. Before, when we first dated, you were so focused on showing me that you would be successful someday. Now you're just yourself, confident without being arrogant, successful without being flashy. And you're not looking for someone to complete you, I replied. You're complete on your own. You're with me because you want to be, not because you need to be. Is that better? It's much better. Love shouldn't be about need. It should be about choice. We kept our relationship private at work for the first few months. It wasn't that we were hiding it, but we wanted to make sure it was real and stable before dealing with the inevitable office gossip and complications. When we finally made it public, the reaction was mixed, but generally positive. Most of our employees were happy for us. A few were concerned about favoritism or conflicts of interest. HR had to develop new policies about relationships between executives and their subordinates. The optics are challenging, our head of HR explained during a meeting. Camila works in a department that reports to you, even if not directly. There could be questions about whether her promotions and raises have been merit-based. So what do you recommend? We restructure so that Camila reports to someone else. Maybe Miguel, as head of marketing. Customer service and marketing have natural synergies anyway. It was a good solution. Camila was happy to report to Miguel, who had always been supportive of her work, and it eliminated any concerns about professional conflicts of interest. Our relationship grew stronger over the following year. We traveled together, met each other's families, again, in Camila's case, and began talking about a future together. But we also continued to grow professionally. Connect Local expanded internationally, opening offices in Canada and Mexico. Camila spearheaded our customer service expansion, developing training programs and service standards that maintained our high-quality support across multiple countries and languages. You know what's funny? She said one evening as we sat on my apartment balcony, looking out over the city. I used to think success meant reaching a destination. Now I think success means enjoying the journey. What changed your mind? You, this company, understanding that the best parts of life aren't the moments when you achieve something big, but the everyday moments when you're doing work that matters with people you care about. Is that what we're doing? Building something that matters? I think we're building several things that matter. A company that helps small businesses succeed. A relationship that's based on mutual respect and genuine love. A life that's meaningful rather than just impressive. That sounds like a pretty good life. It sounds like the life I always wanted, but was too scared to ask for. I took her hand. Camila, there's something I want to ask you. This sounds serious. It is serious. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Will you marry me? She stared at the box for a long moment before looking up at me with tears in her eyes. Lucas, are you sure? Are you sure you can trust me with your heart again? I'm sure because you've already had my heart for the past year, and you've taken better care of it than I ever did. Yes. she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. We were married a year later in a small ceremony at the same venue where Connect Local held its first company retreat. It seemed fitting. The place where we had first begun to rebuild our friendship was now the place where we were committing to a lifetime together. My mother cried during the ceremony. Camila's parents, who had initially been skeptical about her relationship with her former boyfriend, were genuinely happy for us. Miguel was my best man, and he gave a speech about second chances and the power of forgiveness. Lucas and Camila's story, he said to our guests, isn't just about love. It's about growth. It's about how people can change, how mistakes can become learning opportunities, and how sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is losing something you thought you couldn't live without. As I listened to his words, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. The heartbreak that had motivated me to build Connect Local. The success that had given me the confidence to forgive. The forgiveness that had allowed Camila to rebuild her life. The rebuilding that had created the foundation for our new relationship. None of it had been easy. All of it had been worth it. After the reception, as we were leaving for our honeymoon, Camila pulled me aside. Lucas, I need to tell you something. What is it? I'm proud of us. Not just for finding each other again, but for becoming people who deserve each other. What do you mean? I mean that if the old versions of us had gotten married, it would have been a disaster. You were too insecure, I was too shallow. But we've both grown into people who can build something lasting together. So you're saying our breakup was the best thing that ever happened to us? I'm saying that everything that happened, the good and the bad, led us to this moment, and this moment is perfect. As we drove away from our wedding reception, I reflected on the unexpected path that had brought us here. I had started as a young man with a dream and a broken heart. I was ending as a successful businessman with a wife who shared my values and a life that felt meaningful rather than just impressive. But more than that, I had learned something valuable about forgiveness, second chances, and the difference between loving someone and needing someone. Sometimes the greatest success isn't achieving what you thought you wanted. Sometimes it's discovering that what you thought was failure was actually preparation for something better than you ever imagined. 5 years after our wedding, I'm writing this story in my office at Connect Local's headquarters. Through my window, I can see the city where it all began, where I first met Camila, where I first dreamed of building something meaningful, where I first learned that success without purpose is just an expensive way to be empty. Connect Local now serves over 2 million small businesses worldwide. We've created thousands of jobs, helped countless entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, and built a company culture that prioritizes integrity over profit margins. Camila is now our Chief Customer Experience Officer, and she's transforming how businesses think about customer relationships. She speaks at conferences around the world, has written a book about customer service excellence, and is considered one of the leading voices in her field. But more importantly, we've built a life together that's based on shared values rather than shared needs. We challenge each other to be better people, support each other's individual growth, and maintain the kind of partnership that makes both of us stronger. We have 2 children now, a daughter who has her mother's determination, and a son who has his father's tendency to dream big. I hope they learn from our story that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's often the prerequisite for success. I hope they learn that the people who hurt you aren't necessarily your enemies, and that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to prove they've changed. Most of all, I hope they learn that love isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who inspires you to complete yourself. The story I've told you, about betrayal and redemption, about failure and success, about second chances and forgiveness, isn't just my story. It's a story about the possibility of transformation, about the power of integrity, and about the courage it takes to believe in people even when they've given you every reason not to. I started this journey as a young man who believed that success would heal all wounds and solve all problems. I've learned that success is just a tool. What matters is how you use it, who you share it with, and whether it makes you a better person or just a richer one. If you're reading this and you're facing your own betrayal, your own failure, your own moment of devastating loss, I want you to know something. This isn't the end of your story. It's just the end of one chapter. The pain you're feeling right now, the anger, the sense that everything you believed was wrong. Those feelings are valid. Honor them. Feel them completely. But don't let them define you permanently. Use them as fuel. Use them as motivation. Use them as the foundation for building something better than what you lost. Because sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing that ever happens to you. You just have to be brave enough to keep writing your story, even when you can't see how it ends. And sometimes, just sometimes, the person who breaks your heart becomes the person who helps you build a life more beautiful than anything you ever imagined. But first, you have to become someone worthy of that beautiful life. The choice is yours. Hit subscribe if you believe in second chances. Like if this gave you chills. Comment your biggest dream below. I'm rooting for you.